In today's video, I'm going to be talking all about intermittent fasting. More specifically, I wanted to share my personal experience with it, the pros, the cons, and how I've managed to fit it into my daily routine. So I'm going to take you on a welly walk with me. I need to get my steps in today. It's a drizzly old day, so I'm going to make a warm coffee to go, and I will see you out there in the woods. So what is intermittent fasting? Well, essentially it is a pattern of eating. Now you have windows in which you eat and windows in which you fast. The time frame for these windows can completely be adjusted depending on the type of fast you want to do or how it fits in with your lifestyle. I'll get into what I did in a little bit, but I really sparked my interest into this area and into this way of eating probably about this time last year when I was recommended a book called Breakfast is a Dangerous Meal. I thought I'd have a read, and it had some really compelling arguments for this principle of fasting and then eating in different windows. Things including reducing your insulin levels, reducing your insulin resistance, which can then lead to a reduced risk in diabetes, weight loss, reduced inflammation in the body, which therefore reduces your risk of chronic diseases such as cancer and heart disease. The list goes on, but there are really, really strong arguments for these, and ultimately all of these things lead to a longer life and a better, healthier life. So I thought, do you know what? Let's give it a go. So I'm going to put my wellies on, get out there before it starts raining, and I'll tell you a little bit more. In November 2018, I took the plunge and launched into my intermittent fasting experience. Now, I gave myself 1 month to commit to it because I'm not going to lie, I was slightly terrified. I was really worried that I wasn't going to last the morning. I wasn't going to have enough energy. I've typically trained in the morning, and I thought, how am I going to refuel myself and go through a morning's work or a morning's activity? And I've also really suffered in my life with up and down blood sugar levels where I get to the point where I'm almost shaking and I just can't function. So you can imagine not eating breakfast. You kind of think, how am I going to cope with this? And historically I've been told breakfast is the best meal of the day and you can't miss it. So it was certainly diving into the unknown, but I thought, come on, you can do this. There were some real, even logistical benefits to start with, got me into it, in that less food prep, and my morning routine was actually transformed because I didn't have to make breakfast. So we dived right in. I can't wait to tell you a little bit more and what I thought of it and how I got on. So let's head out there and I'll tell you a bit more. Let me start by telling you how I got started. I went with a really simple approach, which is to take on the 16-8 window pattern. Now, you basically fast for 16 hours and you have an eating window of 8 hours. So I set myself the window of 12 till 8 to be able to eat. So I could break my fast at 12 o'clock and I could finish eating by 8 p.m, which I thought actually was quite sensible, pretty easy to put into place, and actually fairly achievable. So in the fasting period you literally don't eat anything, but you are allowed to clear liquids. So I allowed myself lots and lots of water, black coffee, praise the black coffee, and clear teas. So I was drinking some herbal teas and things like that just to keep me going, but the water is a really, really important factor. The first 2 weeks were super hard. I really struggled. It was such a mindset and a mind shift. I was counting up to that 12 p.m. time and I was just desperate to break my fast. But after that, things really changed and it progressively got a lot easier. My energy levels massively increased. I was hopping out of bed in the morning. I was able to train in the morning. My time in the morning was massively cut down because I wasn't having to make a full breakfast. everything was going really in the right direction. I soon started to see weight loss gains, which was obviously a huge motivating factor for me, which impacted my training, and my running became a lot easier. I put this down to probably a reduced calorie amount, to be quite honest with you. I was cutting out a meal completely, but I was also really concentrating on what kind of nutrition I was getting, and I was really keen to ensure that I broke my fast with a really healthy and balanced meal, and then my evening meal just all rolled into one, and I had a nice healthy meal as well. Obviously I've had my treats. I pretty much eat what I like. I like to think I have a pretty balanced diet overall, but I wasn't getting these highs and lows of energy, so I wasn't craving snacks all the time, and that was a real bonus to me. I found that my energy levels were really consistent, and I think probably that's one of the biggest hurdles that I got over, and it's absolutely transformed my daily routine, because it's made me, implement other positive practices like drinking loads of water, getting to bed early, getting a good night's sleep. If I didn't get a good night's sleep for whatever reason, I did find that I found the fast a little bit more difficult. So I was really mindful to make sure I was putting all those things into place to keep the whole thing rolling. And as time went on, it just became a habit, and it became my routine, and it still is. I haven't given up on it, and to be honest with you, I can't see myself in the future doing so. You never say never, but if you can get started and get past that 2 weeks, you'll be absolutely winning. In conclusion, I think that intermittent fasting is fantastic. It's worked superbly well for me. It fits in with my lifestyle and my daily routine really well. I think it will be very different for every individual, but if you do feel like giving it a go, try and push through those first 2 weeks, and hopefully you will also reap some of the benefits that I've already discussed. Couple of things to note: if I do train early in the morning and I do weightlifting as opposed to cardio like running or cycling, I do struggle a little bit more. I think it takes a little bit more out of the muscles and needs a bit more refueling, so I try and leave that type of training to within my eating window, or when I can eat just afterwards. Other than that, I just have to be a little bit careful with what I eat the night before. I do find that if I overload on starchy, sugary carbs and have a bit of a naughty blowout the night before, I'll wake up feeling super hungry, and it might be a bit more of a struggle to get through to midday. But in a way, you could see that as a positive, because it will encourage you, or it definitely encourages me, to think about what I'm eating and make sure that I can stay a little bit more balanced. Other than that, I think the benefits are great. It's certainly worth a go. I'm going to continue on and see where it takes me. The weight loss has been really revolutionary for me. I've trained and tried to eat well all my life, and I've always had a healthy diet, but the weight has just dropped off me. I've probably lost nearly a stone now without really too much of an effort, and I'm sure for lots of people that would be enough motivation in itself, because it can be a bit of a struggle. So if you want to give it a go, do. If you have any questions, drop me a comment below and I can share my experience with it with you. And if you did enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up and a subscribe at the end to keep up to date with all of my future videos. Cheers, and I hope you're having a great day, and I will see you in the next video.